Welcome back, everyone, to this week's episode of Disciples of Tomorrow. I'm Zach. That's Joe. Thanks for joining us for another week, or if this is your first time, welcome. Hopefully, you enjoy the content we make and this week's discussion of Mormon 1 through 6. How are you doing today, Joe?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Doing great. Excited to hear the background of this one. It's changed. The last ones were all similar, but
Yeah,
this one's very different.
the last
So do
ones
you
were
mind?
like all the same. They're like, Jesus teaches.
Yep.
Yep, there it is.
Yep. So now we're
So,
getting into different stuff that you can share.
yay. The Book of Mormon in the Book of Mormon is kind of depressing. It's like mm,
True.
Fourth Nephi is all about the the Nephites going from super righteous to not righteous at all, which is over the course of like 300 years, which is a long time,
Yeah.
but still, it's super sad. It goes from the most righteous people to wicked and just not having a good time. The Book of Mormon is their final fall. It's been prophesied multiple times in the Book of Mormon that the people of Nephi were going to fall and they were going to be destroyed from off the face of the earth because of their wickedness. And this book, these chapters, are kind of the final moments of that. And so it's kind of sad. It's bittersweet. We start with chapter one. Mormon is commanded by the prophet Amaron, which he's during the 300 years, he's the one that has the plates and everything. He's commanded at 10 years old, which to remember everything up until he
Seriously.
is 25, and then go find
Okay.
this hill that he was go find a hill where Amaron hid all the records of the people. He's like, hey, go find this because these people are about to be destroyed. So when remember everything, so when you're 25, you can go write it down and it'll be great. So that's crazy. Um, it talks about the wars and stuff like that that's going on. Chapter two, Mormon is commanded at the age of 16 years old, to lead the Nephite armies
Crazy.
to battle against the Lamanites, and they are beaten over and over, and then they have victories. Unlike before, the Nephites boast in their own strength. They're like, "Yeah, we're awesome. This is great.
Yep.
We're all that in a bag of chips," and which doesn't turn out for them because they get humbled real hard. Um, but not unto repentance, as Moroni says in these chapters.
True.
Um, Moroni isn't commanded to teach them though until chapter three. He goes somewhere in this midst, the battling and stuff. Ends up turning 25, so 10 years of fighting and stuff like that. He finally gets the records and he starts writing down everything and starts transcribing it. And that's where the whole book that we have today comes from that. The Nephites end up winning a battle and they decide to go on the offensive. And this is when Moroni's like, I'm not helping you guys out, and they end up going and trying to fight the Lamanites, and they get pulverized, and they continue to get pulverized up until their end. Um, Moroni ends up taking charge of the armies again towards the end, and he writes a letter to the leader of the Lamanites, like, "Hey, can we gather all of our people together and give you battle one last time?" And the Lamanites are like, "Okay, one shot, one kill, let's do this." So they give him some time to gather up again, and they end up fighting one last time in chapter six. Um,
Yep.
and there is 240,000 Nephites that are slain in one battle, I think.
Hmm.
Which
I don't know.
I don't know if the math, I'll put the right number above us, but Mormon goes over a bunch of his commanders that all had 10,000 people, and they all get wiped out by the Lamanites. They just clobbered everyone except
Yeah.
for 24 people are dead. So Mormon gives the record to his son Moroni, who is eventually the one that goes and buries it, and Joseph Smith ends up finding it. But this is that's the end of the Nephites. They're all done. That chapter six, that's where it all goes down. Giant
Yep.
sickle. They are harvested. Wait, that sounds weird. Uh they're slain. They're done. Yep, they got killed.
Yep.
But pretty sad and pretty brutal end to women, children,
Nice.
fathers, sons, all of them. So Yep,
Yeah.
that's the background of this.
It's heavy stuff. Heavy stuff. Thanks for doing that.
Mm.
We all know that you can do it better than I can, so
No, I'm sure
appreciate you giving the
you could get that.
background. Uh, as far as these chapters, they examples of what to avoid.
Yeah. Yeah, no. This I think that's an example. I think Moroni says it in chap later. I think it's chapter 8. He says like, "Hey, you need this is a record for you guys to be more righteous than us." So I think we'll cover that next time or some
Yeah.
Moroni says it or Mormon says it. One of them says it. He's like, "Hey, this is for you guys to learn from us," kind of thing.
No, yeah, that's perfect. Um, we're gonna go through like normal, and go through the prompts that the Come Follow Me gives us. The first one is I can follow Jesus Christ regardless of what other people do. Uh, so the first question I had is what do we do when others around us are not following Christ? What can we do?
I mean, simple primary answers, I would say, is a thing. Be an example of what Jesus Christ, what would Jesus do? Is probably the easiest answer to that. Um,
Yeah,
what would a disciple look like in your eyes? It's kind of what I my first thoughts are for that. Um, what's something that you have? What would be your answer for that?
it's not I would agree. It's not too complicated. The hard thing is in practice, it's a lot harder than it is said. Because we all know the statistics and the people talk about you become the most you become the your five closest friends.
Yeah.
Those that you hang around the most is usually traits that you pick up, whether that be good or bad. And so we have to be careful with those that we spend time around.
Mm,
But so I would recommend doing uh, putting good people around you to make things easier. But there's
mm,
still always going to be, whether it's family, whether it's uh, just people that you meet, coworkers, there's always going to be, unfortunately, negative influences. And so uh, not falling into those pitfalls of wanting to fit in as all humans do and then, like you were saying, be an example. Because if everyone is doing this and you're at work and I'll say there's four coworkers doing things that they shouldn't or talking about things that they shouldn't, and if you don't engage and uh, they'll notice the difference between the way you conduct yourself and them. And hopefully over time, people will say, "Oh, I don't have to fit in with the group. I can follow Jesus Christ no matter what or when."
yeah. That's
So
it.
that's what I would say. But go
Yeah.
ahead.
There it's hard. It's definitely hard, especially in our society where we're like we want to
For
fit in so
for
bad.
sure.
Like Mormon, he had like he was the only one, like him and his son, and I'm guessing his wife. Like I'm sure there was like a family thing, and I'm sure there was other people that were t doing good stuff too. But on the grand scheme of things people were not being a faithful member was not the norm and not cool. Not the cool kids weren't doing it. So I it's a difficult thing to do. And I think Mormon and Moroni are both examples of what to do when it's about integrity, I think, is how it comes
For
down to.
sure.
Like doing it when no one's around, when we think no one's around, like our member friends, because we're around non-members more than we are members most of the time. So, no. Yeah, that's,
No, yeah. I would agree completely with that. And I would say too, I think of President Monson saying to dare to stand alone. Uh, and so, but with that, I would say that we don't always know who's on the other side. Obviously, Jesus Christ and our Father in heaven are with us, but
mm,
it's been said that those that are with us are more than are with them. So
yeah,
say you're alone in a group of 50 that are doing wrong things, there's more than that on the other side supporting you. And so it takes a little bit of faith to say, okay, even though I feel alone, I'm actually on the majority. And the majority is not only do we want to be on the right side so that we can win and end up in the celestial kingdom, but the majority is a part of that. We don't need to listen to the lies of Satan to make us think that we're going to be alone if we choose to do what's right.
Yeah,
So
I like that.
cool. The next one, the next topic that Come Follow Me gives us is one of my favorites. One of the ones I'm most excited about. I'm excited to get your thoughts. Godly sorrow leads me to Christ and to lasting change. This is something that's very important. Uh, and I want to know your thoughts about how do you know if the sorrow you're feeling, the difference between it being godly or worldly sorrow?
So I have a talk that the come follow me kind of references that not kind of it does reference. I don't
Yeah.
know why I said kind of. So it's called Divine Discontent by Michelle D. Craig, 2016, 18. My monitor's messed up, so I also have dyslexia, so that's fun. So she has a quote that I'm going to read, and she references this kind of idea multiple times, but this is kind of just the part I liked about it that kind of talks about what the topic of this.
Yeah.
So, Elder Neil A. Maxwell called divine discontent. Divine discontent comes when we compare what we are to what we have the power to become. Each of us, if we are honest, feels a gap between where and who we are, and where and who we want to become. We yearn for greater personal capacity. We have these feelings because we are daughters and sons of God, born with the light of Christ, yet living in a fallen world. These feelings are God given and create an urgency to act. We should welcome feelings of divine discontent that call us to a higher way, while recognizing and avoiding Satan's counterfeit, paralyzing discouragement. This is a precious space into which Satan is all too eager to jump. We can choose to walk the higher path that leads us to seek for God and his peace and grace. Or we can listen to Satan, who bombards us with messages that we will never be enough, rich enough, smart enough, beautiful enough, anything enough. Our discontent can become divine or destructive. So, and she goes on to compare this. I know the Come Follow Me also has kind of chart they have laid out, godly sorrow and worldly sorrow, and you can
Yep.
choose like make a list of things that um the difference between the two, but it references verse 14 of Mormon in chapter 2. And they did not come to Jesus with broken hearts and contrite spirits, but they did curse God and wish to die. Nevertheless, they would struggle with the sword for their lives. So
Yep.
I don't know. This kind of a every time I read that verse, I think of I kind of feel called out because I'm like, I just want to die. But I mean it more as a joke, not like these people. They're like, but
Yeah.
yeah. But
No.
that divine discontent. That's kind of the thing I wanted to like. There's divine discontent, and what did she say? Discouragement. So discontent,
Yep.
discouragement. So that's kind of the two that I wanted to compare, or I guess godly sorrow, because I always think I'm like, what does godly sorrows feel like? I always feel, oh, like you feel bad, like that's it. I'm like, well, I don't, I normally don't feel bad. Maybe that's bad to say. Maybe, ooh, maybe. That's
I
like
thought you were gonna go I thought you were gonna go the other way, but I get what you're
I
saying.
always feel
You're gonna be
bad.
like, I always feel bad.
There's no difference. It's all the
No, yeah.
same, just terrible.
I think there's a lot of yeah, you bring up an interesting point. I was gonna take this another route and I'll still share what I was gonna say.
Yeah, yeah, of
I think
course.
there is a little bit of that. When unfortunately, I think if we choose not to listen to godly sorrow over time, it's easier to do the thing that God was trying to tell us not to do. And so if say I enjoy telling little white lies to my friend, and God said, "Why did you do that?" And you feel a little bit bad, but then
Mhm.
next time you're like, "This will be kind of funny. I'll do another lie," and then you keep doing that, you're gonna feel a little bit less and less guilt. And
Yeah.
the good news is, I feel like the desires of our hearts, we've talked about this, and it's been made clear throughout the church very clearly. Desires matter.
Oh yeah.
And so if you turn to God in prayer and you simply say something like, hey, this is something that now, October 20th, realize that this is something I'm still struggling with. And by my own doing, not stopping it, I'm not feeling as much guilt. Hey, could you help me? I want to feel more guilt. I want to be motivated act to change so that I can come closer to you. I'm sure that God would respond well to that and help you want to change. What I was going to say as well with that is that the what you were saying with Elder Maxwell said it. I think the motivation is what's different.
Mhm.
Godly sorrow motivates us to act. And
Yes.
so if they, going back to the lying one, if we are like, okay, I feel really bad, what steps can I do? Uh, Besides obviously praying and asking for forgiveness, what steps can I do to make sure that this doesn't happen again? And acting on those things versus if the other one, you're like, oh, I'm just in too deep. I've
Yeah.
told these lies. I'm not going to own up to them because that's embarrassing. And I'm not going to stop because it's going to come up again. So I got to keep lying. And you just feel bad and don't change. That's
Just a
where it's
spiral.
bad. I'm an idiot and I'm never going to change. But God is like, no, you can still always change. Yes. And so uh, that's what I would say the difference is. And this godly sorrow is meant it's an important part of this life because there is an inherent amount of uh, guilt that we should feel breaking commandments that our
Yeah.
Father in heaven gives us. But Satan twists that.
Yeah. And I would
So
say that also with like obviously guilt is a part of that, but I think if you are just feeling like the divine like discontent, just like what am I doing? Like I could be so much better.
yeah, exactly.
That is good. Like if that's all, if that's what you're getting, that is a
For
good
sure.
sign. Do that. Like that is exactly. And I like something about the talk because I know me and you have had this conversation. Like we're looking at ourselves and we're like, wow, we suck. Like we want to do all these things and we're doing
Yep.
this and we're like, we want to be so much better.
No,
What?
it's true.
So I think that also is because it doesn't have to be with sin or anything. It just be with everyday things. Like I want to be, uh, like as me and
True.
Zach have a term, we call it being stacked, where people are just have so many skills and so many just good things going for them. And it's like, man, I want to be like that. And I think that's a part of it. It's like, hey, like I want to be better, and I know that it's going to take a lot of work, but I got to do this. So that's something I got from this talk. I'm like, hey, like I know this. So yeah, that's
No, yeah, I would agree with that. With uh with sin and also just motivated to be better, like what
mhm.
you're saying, we should be very grateful that that's not gone because
Yeah,
it means that God's still reaching out and we're still trying. And so like as much as we like are worried that we'll never change certain things, we're still having the desire to change those things. We should really start worrying that we're not going to change if we have no desire to change.
that's true.
That's when
That's true.
a big problem, right?
That is very true. That is very true.
So we're on the right track, even though we're idiots sometimes. The next section is they did not realize that it was the Lord that had spared them.
Yes.
Uh, so this is a big one. And this was a lot of what their problems arose because they weren't turning to the Lord, they weren't acknowledging Him. What are some of the consequences of not acknowledging the Lord?
Well, these people right here got wiped off the face of the earth, so that's hmm. But I think gratitude is a big part of being humble. Um, I don't know if you've ever done it, but like gratitude
Yeah.
prayers, those things are nice sometimes. Just
Yep.
constantly gratitude, just like I'm not going to ask for anything.
True.
I just want to tell you I'm grateful today. They're nice. They do a very good job of keeping one humble. So I think not realizing that one is but a small speck in the grand scheme of things, and not realizing that it's the Lord that is doing the rescuing, I think it does lead to a sense of pride, and humility kind of goes out the door a little bit, but little piece by little piece until, yeah, that's kind of the thoughts I was having with this. It's always good to turn things back to the
On,
Lord.
on the oth- I was gonna say on the other side, what blessings come from acknowledging him?
You stole my thing. Uh, did you just steal my question? That's one of the questions from the Come Follow Me. The yeah, that's one of the questions from the Come Follow Me. On the reverse side of it, it's the same thing. I think it can lead to um humility, and that is a blessing, especially for, I guess, the Nephites and stuff. I'm sure Mormon and his son Moroni definitely wished that they had been more grateful and turned to the Lord, like, hey, the Lord is doing this for us. Um, but no, they were not, unfortunately, doing that.
Yeah.
Um, what are some of your thoughts on that?
Yeah. What I was thinking is along the same lines that you were saying for both, but I think really this has to do with your spiritual health in my
Mhm.
mind.
Yeah,
If you are not realizing what the Lord is doing for you, then spiritually you're going to be in a very bad place. And there's a lot of negative consequences to not having a part of your life or not thanking Him for the things that He's doing for you each and every day. And
yeah,
then on the flip side, if you're constantly turning to Him and you're acknowledging what He's doing, how merciful He's been to you, all those spiritual blessings, one of them being humility, is huge. But then just like he- our spirit is very real, it's connected to our body. And so just the way we're going to feel, the peace that we feel, all of this that's going to come from acknowledging Him, there's something that it's something we need to spiritually survive. And so I don't know,
yeah,
definitely would recommend having gratitude for the Lord. Um,
yeah,
as far as how to show gratitude, I was reflecting on this. Uh, Gratitude prayers are huge for
yeah,
sure. I, I think that's probably one of the best things. But I think I don't know. I think of having a prayer throughout your heart. The scriptures that say like constantly have one. I just think of that like sometimes I go through better sports than others, like off and on. But like sometimes like work will be going really well, or like I'll be having fun with friends or whatever. And I'll just think to myself like, thank you. Like this is I appreciate it. Or and obviously letting him know that in prayer, but also just acknowledging the good in our lives. I think it's a lot connected with the positive outlook we can have on life. As members, there's been a lot of talks about how we should be the happiest people on earth.
yeah.
And how do we become the happiest people on earth? I think it's directly related to gratitude.
Oh yeah,
Acknowledging that we're so blessed because of this knowledge and because of what he does for us.
oh yeah,
And so letting him know that and being appreciative and positive about those things.
yeah. I totally agree. I had a thought that I totally lost, but
Nice.
I just want to put out that I had a thought about something. The
Come on, come
gears,
on.
the
Get
gears
there.
turn.
Do you have yours?
No, I took some out. I
They need to be oiled up.
I was like, why are these turning? I'm just gonna take them out. They're not working anymore.
Get it, man. Get some oil. I'm out today. I'm tired. Okay, what do you
But
think? You want to keep thinking or you want to move on
no,
and
it's not coming back. It was like in the middle of what you were saying, and then
nice.
it's gone.
Yeah, I talked too long. That's my
No,
bad.
I ADHD. It's just it's
Yep.
gone.
Uh, Jesus Christ stands with open arms to receive me. Uh, I didn't have too much to talk about with this one. I just put down that Mormon said that the Lord would forgive the Nephites if they
Yeah,
repent. That's a promise. Obviously, the Lord had his arms open to them. And there's tons of other examples in the Book of Mormon and throughout all of scriptures
yeah,
that says, hey, all you got to do is repent and I'll, forgive you and have my arms
yeah.
out. So obviously we can take that to our own lives and acknowledge that, know that he's there. But I just want to get your thoughts, whatever direction you want to take. I don't have a question for you. You want to say a quick splurb about what you liked about this topic?
Uh, it's really funny because I really don't like talking on this, and somehow you could just get me to talk for freaking ever, and it's like
Inspired questions.
I edit these and then I listen to myself talk, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, be quiet. But
That's what
I,
I do all week. How can I get Joe to talk more?
oh, I wouldn't be surprised if you did that. But I'm sure Mormon was. I always say Moroni instead of Mormon, but I mean Mormon in this case. I again, I like putting myself in his shoes of like what he must have been going through. Like he's like like he's read about all these times the Nephites had fallen away, coming back, fallen away, come back, fallen away, come back, and I don't know if it must have been like maybe he was feeling disheartened. He's like all these prophets were able to get them to get their act together and come back to the person that literally is the one that can save them, and I can't do that. Like I don't know how to do that, and there might like he read the prophecies. He knows that these people are about to be destroyed, and I'm sure that he's at least me. I'm not the greatest. I must have been. I probably would feel the opposite of this. Like is Jesus shut his arms to my people?
Mm.
Like I just want them to be saved, but obviously they didn't want to get saved. But he references multiple times in Mormon 3, 3 and 9 that he's like, the Lord is who has open arms. Jesus Christ said himself, he's like, hey, like in chapter 10, yes, I think it's 10, 9 or 10 of their Nephi, he's like, how often, what did I, would I, and will I? He is always willing to open his arms to us. I think of a scripture in First Nephi where not the tree of life. Surprising, but I don't know the reference. I'll put it above. But Nephi and his brothers going at it, and the Nephi. It's when they tie him up. That's the story.
Gotcha.
But they tie him up, and then they release him, and they ask for his forgiveness, and he says, "I forgave them frankly, like just right away." Jesus is like that. He forgives frankly. He's like, "I'm not gonna hold the grudges." It's like if you come to me, I will forgive you. That's a promise. And it must have been just like right there for Mormon, just like please just go to him. Please. But obviously he saw the destruction of all of it because the people were too hard to listen, which is kind of sad. But yeah, that's just kind of the thoughts right off the top of my head that I had about this. Um, yeah, any other thoughts on this section that you wanted to share that weren't a part of this group of topics?
Yeah. Something that I just wanted to share in closing as we went through all of these is something that I've been reflecting on. And as we were talking, it was reiterated. As much as we want to be better, and the whole purpose of this podcast is for us to become better disciples. And if in the process we can help someone else, great. But if
Yeah,
not, even just us two is awesome.
yeah,
And this year, as we've studied through the Book of Mormon, and it's now October, I was reflecting on how much I've learned and how my testimony has grown, as I'm sure you can share as
yeah,
well. But I just wanted to share that these people, you see the pitfalls they went through, the bad things they went through because they didn't acknowledge the Lord. And I'm very grateful we have the Book of Mormon to keep us on the straight and narrow. I can say that I'm better off now, having read for the last 10 months, than I would have been if I hadn't read, and that I was 10 months ago. We're constantly growing, and the Lord is giving us more spiritual knowledge as we put forth effort. And so I just wanted to put in that blurb. Don't be as these Nephites, uh, and do the little things because they do make a big difference.
Yeah, I love that. I guess I'll just follow your lead. Yeah, these 10 again, we'll probably say it in a few more months.
That's what I was gonna say too. We'll probably say
Well,
it at the end.
but it's been good. It's been good to be able to study again.
These people just made me reflect on it because this is the
Yeah,
first time in a while they were so bad.
that well, they were bad enough to get wiped off the
Yes.
video, like, and we'll read like there was some of the things that they were doing were wild, but yeah, it's grateful that we have the opportunity to grow and change and learn from other people's mistakes. That's what wisdom is, learning from other people. And the I think is it Jacob that says be wise, what need I say more or something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. There you go. Jacob at the beginning of the book of Mormon, he was wise, and so I'll do the actual verse up there. But this is another reason why I hate editing because I'm just like, oh, I'll get it later.
Yeah,
And,
you
and I'm
just
just like,
mess yourself up. Like, why did I say that?
why'd I do that? But it's been great doing this. Like, even if it's just like you said, just for us too. Like, if no one else is even listens to these, it's still for us to learn and grow, and that's what we've been doing. And we have the opportunity to change and to realize that Jesus Christ does have open arms to receive us, and we have the opportunity to change and run towards them and accept that divine the words are divine
Discontent.
discontent.
Yeah.
Yes, divine discontent and be able to change because of that. So, yeah, good versus bittersweet, definitely bittersweet, but it's good that we have them. So, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Next week, if you made it this far, we're going to be talking about Mormon 7 through 9.
Mhm.
Uh, I don't know what it's about, so I'll find out because I can't remember. But I'm excited about it, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah. If you guys have any comments or questions or just things you want to share, put them down below. We like hearing from you guys. If you like what we do, maybe subscribe. That would be awesome. We really do appreciate you guys, and we want to hear from you. So put stuff down below or not. And we will see you guys next time for Mormon 7 through 9.
Take, see
Yeah,
ya. See you, Joe.
we'll see you guys. Bye.